Now, let's take a look at the map of Southeast Asia. As we can see, there is 11 countries in this region. There is Thailand, Myanmar, Vietnam, Laos, Cambodia, Malaysia, Singapore, Indonesia, Philippines, Brunei, and East Timor. Next, let's move on to introduction of Southeast Asia. The Chinese call Southeast Asia as Nanyang, and the Japanese call it as Nanyo. Both of the terms refer to South Seas, and South Asians use terms such as Land of Gold or Golden Land to describe Southeast Asia. The region is located between China, India, Australia, and the Pacific Ocean. Southeast Asia is the only other sub-region of Asia that lies partly within the Southern Hemisphere. Southern Hemisphere is half of Earth that is south of the equator. It contains all or part of 5 continents. Southeast Asia can be divided into 2 geographic regions, which is the mainland and the insular of Southeast Asia. The only landlocked country is the rural and remote country of Laos, which border China, Vietnam, and Thailand. The mainland border China and India and have extensive river system. Meanwhile, the insular region is made up of islands and peninsulas between Asia and Australia, which often with mountainous interior and surrounded by water. Moving on to the population, the current population of Southeast Asia is 677.83 million. Southeast Asia population is equivalent to 8.58% of the total world population. Southeast Asia ranked number 3 in Asia among sub-regions by population. The highest populated country in Southeast Asia is Indonesia, with 273.52 million. And the least populated country is Brunei, with 437,479 people. The climate of Southeast Asia. All of Southeast Asia experience a warm, humid tropical climate characterized by monsoon and plenty of rainfall throughout the year. However, Myanmar and Laos, which located at the mountainous region, as well as northern Vietnam, experience a subtropical climate. The monsoon causes wet and dry conditions in most parts of the region, with tropical rain belt causing additional rainfall. Seasonal changes are commonly associated with rainfall and rarely with temperature. Much of the region receives at least 1,500 millimeters of rainfall annually, with the mainland receiving bulk of the rain between May and September due to the southwest monsoon. This picture here shows the Ring of Fire. The Ring of Fire affects life in Southeast Asia, as the area is included in part of it. The Ring of Fire is an area of volcanic and earthquake activities along the outer basin of the Pacific Ocean. It is connected to most volcanoes and earthquakes around the world. Many of the islands of Southeast Asia were formed by the volcanoes that were of this chain. The Ring of Fire is dangerous and dynamic because these volcanoes are still active. meaning that they can erupt at any time. One of the well-known natural disasters is the Boxing Day tsunami of 2004 that happened in Aceh, Indonesia. Next is cultural history. Cultural changes began to affect Southeast Asia around 2000 years ago, with influence coming from two directions. Influence of India and China are evident on the historical development of the region. The Buddhism are strongly rooted in Myanmar, Thailand, Cambodia, Laos, and Vietnam. Hindu cosmology and belief also have influence in the region. It can be seen on the temple like Angkor Wat in Cambodia and Borobudur in Indonesia, which reveal Indian influence. The Chinese also have influence politically and culturally in the Southeast Asia. Chinese expansion south of the Yangtze River eventually led to the colonization of Vietnam. Thailand people were pushed out of the southern China in 13th century. The Confucian philosophy has a direct and lasting influence when Vietnam became independent. Vietnam were occasionally ruled by China, and the Buddhism and Taoism also reached Vietnam via China. These Chinese people that moved to Thailand were called as overseas Chinese. Overseas Chinese are the major entrepreneurs in large urban areas. Moving on to the arrival of Islam. Islam began to spread in Southeast Asia around the 13th century and were brought by Muslim merchants. The first confirmation of a Muslim community comes from Marco Polo, the well-known traveler who stopped in North Sumatra in 1292. A major development of Islam happened when the ruler of Malacca decided to adopt Islam around 1430. Malacca was a key trading center, and the Malay language that was spoken in the Malay Peninsula and East Sumatra was used as a lingua franca in the trading port throughout the Malay-Indonesian archipelago. By 1650, Islam dominated in Malaysia and Indonesia, and now Indonesia is the world's most populous Muslim country with 87% of Indonesians are Muslim. Next is colonialism. Most states in Southeast Asia were under colonial rule from 19th to 20th century. France and Britain colonized the mainland region of Southeast Asia. The Japanese took control of the region briefly before World War II ended in 1945. Southeast Asia was heavily influenced by European colonialism. The only area of the region that was not colonized by the Europeans was Thailand, which was called Siam during the colonial era. It remained an independent kingdom throughout the colonial period and was a buffer state between France and British colonizers. This is because Thai monarchy practiced skillful diplomacy to preserve their independence. Some of the countries and regions of Southeast Asia become known by their colonial connection. Indonesia was often referred as the Dutch East Indies, which was influenced in the labeling of the Caribbean as the West Indies. French Indochina is a term legitimized for historical references to the former French claim in the Southeast Asia. Malaya and British Borneo Each had its own currency based on a dollar unit that was legal tender for the region of the Federation of Malaya, Singapore, Sarawak, North Borneo, and Brunei. Independent from the European powers and freedom from the Japanese imperialism by the end of World War II provided a new identification for the various countries of the realm. Cultural and economic ties remain between many former colonies and their European
Hi, this is Firas. So I will present about organization in Southeast Asia. The first one, ASEAN. The Association of Southeast Asian Nations, ASEAN, was founded in 1977 and now has 10 member states: Brunei Darussalam, Cambodia, Indonesia, Laos, Malaysia, Myanmar, the Philippines, Singapore, Thailand, and Vietnam. Cooperation in ASEAN to date has focused on economic integration. Its member states decided to establish the ASEAN Economic Community (AEC) in November 2015. Its foundation was considered to be a predominantly symbolic step on the path toward an internal market with free movement of goods and capital and freedom of movement for workers. The objective was to achieve this internal market by the end of 2015. The ASEAN Charter, which entered into force on 15 December 2008, injected impetus into the cooperation with the ASEAN, particularly in the political and security spheres, and in the cultural and social fields. The Charter provides a foundation for the further development of the ASEAN community and gives ASEAN a legal personality. It also records the ASEAN states' commitment to the rule of law, democracy, and good governance, and envisage the formation of a human rights body. The establishment of a group of permanent representatives of the ASEAN states in Jakarta is an important step towards more effectively cooperation. It is now also possible for the third states to accredit ambassadors to ASEAN. The German ambassadors to Indonesia fulfills this function for Germany. ASEAN Plus 3 is the name given to the regional framework for dialogue between the 10 ASEAN member states and the 3 East Asian powers: China, Japan, and South Korea. ASEAN Plus 3 was formed in the late 1990s in response to the ASEAN financial crisis and works mainly on economic, trade, and financial policy, but also on environmental and health issues. The multilateral cooperation of ASEAN Plus 3 has also given rise to a number of agreements. For instance, ASEAN has free trade agreements with China, Japan, and South Korea. Next, APEC. APEC was founded in 1989 on the initiative of Japan and Australia and aims to strengthen the economic growth in the ASEAN Pacific region, not least by dismantling the tariffs and other barriers to trade. At the summit in Bogor, Indonesia in 1984, the APEC countries agreed to set up a free trade area within the Economic Community, Bogor Goals. Summits at head of state and government level are held annually with the participation of business executives. Climate protection appeared on APEC's agenda for the first time at the 50th Summit in Sydney in 2007. APEC currently has 21 member economies: Australia, Brunei, Canada, Chile, China, Hong Kong, Indonesia, Japan, Malaysia, Mexico, New Zealand, Papua New Guinea, Peru, the Philippines, the Russian Federation, Singapore, South Korea, Taiwan, Thailand, the United States, and Vietnam. Together, these economies account for some 55% of global gross domestic product (GDP) and some 45% of global trade. Next, we go to issues in Southeast Asia. First, we go through political issues. In Thailand faced a serious human rights crisis. Prime Minister Jane Prayut Chan-o-cha government imposed restrictions on civil and political rights, particularly freedom of expression, arbitrarily arrested democracy activists, engineered the dissolution of a major opposition political party on politically motivated grounds, and enforced a nationwide state of emergency using the COVID-19 pandemic as a pretext. Philippines: political killings, threats, harassments. OHCHR published a report that found numerous systematic human rights violations in the Philippines, among them the killing of 208 human rights defenders and activists since 2015. Leftist activists and human rights defenders were key targets of physical and online attacks. On August 17, unidentified gunmen shot dead Zara Alvarez, a legal worker for the human rights group Karapatan in Bacolod City in the central Philippines. Alvarez's killing came a week after a peasant leader, Randall Alcanis, was found dead, apparently tortured in his home in Quezon City. Alvarez was the 30th Karapatan member killed during the Duterte administration. Myanmar. The overall human rights situation in Myanmar worsened in 2020, including heightened restriction on freedom of expression and peaceful assembly. Fighting between Myanmar military and several ethnic armed groups continue, with government force committing increased abuse against ethnic Kachin, Karen, Rakhine, Rohingya, and Shan minority populations. Military and police abuse were amplified with arbitrary arrest, detention, torture, and killings in custody. Environmental issues. The first one, endangered species conservation. Southeast Asia sits almost entirely in the tropics and as such is covered in rich, dense, biologically diverse jungle. As a result of a wide number of factors, from poaching to deforestation, many native species are endangered. One of the most prominent of these species is the Asian elephant. The total number of Asian elephants in the world was sadly fallen to below 30,000, down from 100,000 at the beginning of the 20th century in Thailand alone. Asian elephants are endangered for a number of reasons. First, they have been subject to ivory poaching. Though elephant poaching is illegal, there is still plenty of demand for ivory, so it happens anyway. Second, they have experienced widespread habitat destruction, which simultaneously makes it harder to get food and puts elephant into much more contact with humans, which can often result in the death of either the human or the elephant. Elephants are by no means the only endangered species in Southeast Asia. The Sumatran tiger, the orang-utan, the Javan rhinoceros are faced the threat of extinction. Some estimate that there are over 40% of all plant and animal species in Southeast Asia could go extinct during the 21st century. Next, air pollution. Air pollution is a global problem, but Southeast Asia does have among the worst air pollution in the world, only behind East Asia and India. The region is prone to relatively frequent haze, which are the result of widespread fires. These fires are generally started intentionally by either small-scale farmers or companies trying to clear lands of trees so they can exploit it the following year. The haze in Southeast Asia have become an increasingly frequent occurrence and can spread across many countries, causing serious health and safety concerns. The 2013 haze, mostly originating from fires in Indonesia, caused problems in Singapore, Brunei, Malaysia, Thailand, and Indonesia. During haze, it can be hazardous to even go outside, so often cities will shut down, adding economic costs to the list of consequences. Destruction of coral reef. Southeast Asia is known for its incredible coral reef and subsequently its incredible diving. The area known as the Coral Triangle, mostly centered on the islands of Oceania, is the most biologically diverse marine environment in the world. Unfortunately, the reef of Southeast Asia have been seriously degraded over the past several decades. This is the result of several factors. One of them is the ocean absorbs about a quarter of all carbon dioxide we put into the atmosphere each year. While this actually helps reduce the effects of global warming temporarily, It also means that more of that carbon is going to be converted into carbonic acid, increasing the ocean acidity level over time. This acidification fundamentally weakens coral reef, making them more prone to disease and less likely to recover from disturbances. Deforestation. As cities and population grow, more land area is needed. Often this area is cleared out of forests. In Southeast Asia, specifically, given its position in the tropics, much of the forest that's destroyed is rainforest, one of the most biologically diverse ecosystems on the planet. Rainforests are not only home to more than half of the world's plant and animal species, but they also provide over a quarter of our natural medicines, and they also over a quarter of our planet's carbon dioxide. So naturally, the effects of deforestation of rainforests can be catastrophic. Not only does it destroy plant and animal habitats, but it also accelerates climate change and potentially deprives us of undiscovered life-saving medicines. Deforestation is not an easily solved problem either. Often it happens because poor families need more space to plant their crops, or simply need wood for fuel, or it may be a side effect of unintentional wildfires. The last one, water security. The world as a whole may well be close to reaching the peak water, the point where we start consuming fresh water faster than it can be replenished. In few places, it is concern as acute as it is in Southeast Asia. First off, the Himalayan glaciers that serve as the sources of many of the major Asian rivers, including the Mekong, which passes through China, Myanmar, Laos, Thailand, Cambodia, and Vietnam, are melting faster due to global warming, and rivers such as the Mekong are already heavily damped, which give countries upriver huge power over the water supply for downriver nations. As much of this water is used in the growth of crops, this raises food security issues as well. Of the fresh water that is readily available, much of it is polluted and inadequately sanitized. Indonesia is the worst in the region, with only 30% of city residents and 10% of village residents having access to clean water.
Now, for this slide, I will explain about countries and location of mainland Southeast Asia. Mainland Southeast Asia, also known as the Indo-Chinese Peninsula or Indochina, is the continental portion of Southeast Asia. It lies east of the Indian subcontinent and south of mainland China, and is bordered by the Indian Ocean to the west and the Pacific Ocean to the east. It includes the countries of Cambodia, Laos, Myanmar, Thailand, and Vietnam. The term Indochina was coined in the early 19th century, emphasizing the cultural influence of Indian and Chinese civilization on the area. The term was later adopted as the name of the colony of French Indochina.
So here, the second subregion is Insular Southeast Asia. The island countries of Southeast Asia are Malaysia, Singapore, Brunei, Indonesia, East Timor, and the Philippines. The insular region is made up of islands and peninsulas between Asia and Australia, where it can range from Borneo, Sumatra, Java, and Luzon.
In this slide, I will explain about mainland Southeast Asia economic development. For Vietnam, there are industry and manufacturing and tourism. The top manufacturing sector are electronic, food processing, cigarettes and tobacco, textile, chemical, and footwear goods. This sector have experienced rapid growth in the following years. Also, benefits from its proximity to China with lower labor costs. Vietnam is becoming a new manufacturing hub in Asia, especially for Korean and Japanese firm. For tourism, in 2012, Vietnam welcomed 6.8 million international visitors, and the number is expected to increase in following years. Tourism attracts foreign investment and creates jobs. It also provides investment opportunity for small business owners. Shifting the Vietnam's workforce from agriculture to the service industry created by tourism growth presents the potential for higher disposable incomes and reduced poverty. There are two industries in Laos, which are agriculture and mining. During the 1990s, agriculture was one of the major industries in Laos. It contributed significantly to the gross domestic product and provided jobs to nearly 80% of the workforce. Apart from rice, other major crops grown in Laos include coffee, opium, and corn. The people of Laos also keep animals such as cattle, goats, and pigs. For mining is one of the main industries in Laos, and in 2012, it contributes 7% to the country's economy. Laos is considered one of the Asia's most resource-rich nations due to wealth of mineral resources in the country, such as lead, copper, and gold. Laos mineral wealth has attracted a large number of foreign investors from countries such as China and Australia. Garment industry and agriculture are the top industry in Cambodia. The garment industry represents the largest portion of Cambodia's manufacturing sector, accounting for 80% of the country's export. This sector operates largely on the finest phase of garment production, that is, turning yarns and fabrics into garments, as the country lacks a strong textile manufacturing base. Cambodia's garment industry at present continues to grow rapidly. This can be attributed to the country's economic policy, which has drawn in large amounts of foreign investment into this sector of the economy. While for agriculture is the traditional mainstay of the Cambodia economy. Agriculture accounted for 90% of GDP in 1985 and employed approximately 805 of the workforce. Rice is the principal commodity. Major secondary crops include maize, cassava, sweet potatoes, groundnuts, soybeans, sesame seeds, dry beans, and rubbers. The principal crop is rubbers. Next, for Thailand, there are automotive industry and tourism. As of 2017, the automotive industry in Thailand is the largest in Southeast Asia and the 12th largest in the world. The Thai industry has an annual output of near 2 million vehicles, more than countries such as Belgium, the United Kingdom, Italy, Czech Republic, and Turkey. Most of the vehicles built in Thailand are developed and licensed by foreign producers, mainly Japanese, American, and Chinese, but with several other brands as well for CKD production, notably BMW and Mercedes. The Thai car industry takes advantage of the exchange-free trade area (AFTA) to find a market for many of its products. Thailand is one of the world's biggest market for pickup trucks, with over 50% market share for one-ton trucks. While for tourism is also one of the Thailand's largest sector of employment, and it ranked 9 in the term of having the highest number of people employed in the tourism industry worldwide in 2019. Thailand is a leader for tourism in Southeast Asia in terms of number of foreign tourist arrival, with Bangkok, a global capital with rich heritage, world-famous islands and beaches, jungle and wild nature, and famous UNESCO World Heritage Sites. As of the first quarter of 2020, the tourism industry was estimated to directly contribute 5.65% to the gross domestic product (GDP) in Thailand. For Myanmar, there are agriculture and oil and gas. Agriculture plays a significant role in the country's economy and accounts for 60% of the GDP and employs about 65% of the country's labor force. Agriculture, forestry, and fishing together constitute the largest contributor to Myanmar's economy. About half of all agricultural land in Myanmar is devoted to rice, and to increase production, the government has promoted multiple cropping. And for oil and gas, Myanmar is one of the significant producers of petroleum and natural gas in Asia, and it is home to one of the oldest petroleum industries in the world. The first crude oil to be exported out of the country was in 1853, and today the country is among the leading producers of natural gas in the continent of Asia. As of 2015, Myanmar exports gas to Thailand and China.
And next, these are the major economic sector in Malaysia, which is manufacturing. Manufacturing has led Malaysia's economic recovery late last year after the fallout from COVID-19 in electrical and electronic segment. There's a several factors that make it the ideal location, including their top talent, durability, tax, and investment incentive. So these are the three main segments of manufacturing. So first one is electrical and electronic. As Penang is one of the states that has significant the most in microelectronic assembly, package and testing hub in the world that has positioning Malaysia as both a vital link in electronic supply chain and an ideal location for R&D. This has attracted global tech big companies to continue investing in Malaysia. And the second is machinery and equipment. As the Malaysia have using Industry 4.0 technologies that include robotic, factory automation, and predictive maintenance to deliver the best-in-class product consistently. And the third is chemical, as Malaysia became a major contributor of petrochemical products that are often used as raw material in the production of electronic, plastic, automotive part, and construction material. And last, these are the two growing segments in Malaysia, which is medical device and aerospace. Next is the major economic sector in Singapore, which is transportation and storage. As Singapore has made a good strategic utilization of its geographic location by serving as a distribution center for goods and material processed in the region, for example like crude oil from Indonesia is unloaded and refined in Singapore, raw material are shipped in and it's manufactured into finished good and then shipped out to the global market. Singapore is now already 100% urban with high income based on high-tech manufacturing and processing of raw material that became an economic hub for Southeast Asia. And it is also complete with global airline connection and is located on a major shipping lane. Singapore World-Class Port is also one of the busiest port in Asia. Next is Brunei major economy sector is in industrial. Brunei economy has been dominated by the oil and gas industry for the past 19 years. Brunei also made a substantial investment in the expansion of its downstream industry to diversify its product portfolio in the oil and gas value chain. Brunei Shell Petroleum is the largest oil producer and it contributes 90% to Brunei's oil and gas revenue. In early 2021, Petroleum Brunei and Petronas of Malaysia has signed several cooperation agreements for joint development of oil and natural gas fields in both countries. Next is mining in Indonesia. Indonesia continues to be a significant player in the global mining industry in the production of coal, copper, gold, tin, bauxite, and nickel. Indonesia also continues to be one of the world's largest exporter of thermal coal, as Indonesia thermal coal is the best one from other countries because of the low level of ash, where it is provide a safer environment and it can guarantee a better health condition. Second, less moisture, where it is beneficial to support the best combustion as required. And last, low percentage of sulfur, where it can help to eliminate the potential of health risks due to the sulfur inside the thermal coal. So next is agriculture in East Timor or Timor-Leste. Agriculture is the primary source of livelihood for approximately 80% of the population in Timor-Leste. And this sector plays a major role in investment, employment, wage growth, and overall economic prosperity. The coffee industry remains the national economy's largest non-oil export, as Timor-Leste has a special status in the modern history of coffee production as it is the source of a natural hybrid of Robusta and Arabica. As the big company like Starbucks has investing in plantation, where there are about 22,000 farmers in the cooperative that supplies Starbucks are from Timor-Leste. And the last is manufacturing in Philippines. Manufacturing production averaged 10.7% from 1986 until now and reached a high percentage in July 2021. The Department of Trade and Industry launched a program for securing manufacturing revitalization and transformation to support the adoption of new technologies, new process, product, services, as well as the development of new manufacturing sector. These are the main activity in this sector, which is electrical and electronic, automotive, metal product, machinery and equipment, and the lastly is aerospace. And that's all from our group. Thank you.